Meh. Look, I don't know about you, but it feels like as I get older, I just hate doing things. Like, I like the idea of a new project and having that project finished, but not anything else. I feel like I didn't have this problem when I was a little kid, but then the slow decline of my mental state began to, I guess, eat away at my psyche. I already finished school with like a computer science degree, so this stuff is obviously from the past. So, yeah. Back in elementary school, I used to like take notes and stuff and actually do my homework. And school wasn't like hard or anything, it was more like something I just did. I just had to like, so my voice cracked. I had to like put up with, even though I didn't really want to. I just thought that was like, what you have to do. In middle school, however, I started finding it easier to do homework right before or like during class rather than actually doing them at home. I don't know if you understand the sheer anus clenching terror of trying to scramble to get your assignment done right as the teacher is walking towards your desk, ready to collect it. The first paper I ever had to write on a book I forgot to read, I literally just copied the entire Wikipedia article of that book, removed the underlines, italics, and boldness, and submitted it as my own work. The teacher never called me out or anything, and I didn't even remove the reference numbers. There's no way she didn't know or see it. But that's when I started trying to find the easy way out of doing real work. After ninth grade, I stopped reading books entirely thanks to a handy tool called SparkNotes. The last book I read was Night by Elie Wiesel. The thing is, every time I've read a book, I've actually, enjoyed it almost every time. But unless I'm forced to do it, I actually can't sit and read a book for some reason. I don't know why. I open it, I read like a paragraph, and then I put it down and say, I'll just read later. But then later never comes and it just gathers dust for eternity. Around this time, I started falling asleep in class and getting less than the A's and B's I normally got because I stopped caring about grades. As long as I passed, I was more or less content. And then college, it kind of made being lazy way too easy because you get like a lot of free time. And I know that was probably a way to teach us responsibility or like time management, but I kind of took advantage of every method to not work as much as possible. I would like skip classes that were too easy or calculate how much homework I had to do so I could like even out my grades. And I didn't even read a single book. I remember this one professor praised an essay I wrote on a book. I don't even remember the name of the book or the class. And she asked if she could use it as an example of an A-plus essay for future students. Instead of falling asleep, I would just have designated classes where I would sleep whenever I want, knowing I could get away with it. But my grades, unfortunately, did begin to suffer, and I did fail a couple classes, and I got like lower than average grades. There was never like a major I wanted to actually major in, and I ended up wasting 3 years on taking like liberal arts classes. And I had to stay like 3 extra years in school to make up for all that lost time. It wasn't until I actually had a meeting with an advisor who told me I shouldn't aim for computer science because my math grades were too low. And they were low, but it was just because I was sleeping in class. And I tuned out everything he said because as soon as he said I shouldn't aim for it, I kind of took that as a challenge. And that actually boosted my morale a bit, and I retook the math class that I got a D in, and I got an A in it, getting like hundreds on the tests. But then that urge to succeed kind of died down as the classes got more difficult, and I swear if it wasn't for online classes during the old COVID years, I probably wouldn't have passed anything. I'd stay asleep throughout the entire online class and just watch all of the recordings the day before class while taking little notes here and there. Needless to say, I basically learned nothing. But there is more to this than me just kind of rambling on about slacking off. It's not like I don't want to get things done. It's more like I just can't. Like, I desperately want to get things done and I want to be productive. Remember when I said I didn't like the process between an idea and like a finished project? That's usually what stops me from actually getting things done, but like there are times when I have a burst of motivation to do something, almost like a high, and I hyperfixate on something for like hours or days even, but I don't usually finish those projects. Or that high usually dies down after a couple days, or maybe even after a couple hours, and then I never go to that project again. Now, I always thought I was just lazy, but as I learned recently, a sibling of mine was diagnosed with ADHD, and all of their symptoms seem to match the things that I've been going through. So I spoke to a psychiatrist about it, and what do you know? I never actually thought about it being something like that until like recently, but I have like a lot of symptoms aside from just not being able to focus or get things done. Like even as a kid, I wouldn't even be able to watch TV if I was sitting on the couch across the room. I had this little special chair throughout my entire days growing up that would sit in front of the TV, and that would just be my chair. I also have problems listening to people when they're talking. Like, I can stare at them, but then I'll just drift off into space while they're talking. Even though I'm trying desperately to pay attention, my mind wanders, and then that's just that. I just lose the plot immediately. Look, the point is, call it laziness, call it ADHD, call it whatever you want. A liberal being a liberal, I don't know. But either way, I just don't like doing things. I mean, I couldn't even be bothered to finish writing the script. I'm just kind of talking off the top of my head right now. But, you know, that's just the story. Yeah.